Hey guys, it's Alex from the 2 Plus podcast. I'm back with a battle report for Old World 1.5. Tonight, or a couple of weeks ago, on a night, Patty and I got together to play Wood Elves vs. Beastmen again, but this time we're playing under the new rules. So, in front of you is my army. I was running the Minotaur herd. Before the Beastmen Arcane Journal came out, I bought up a bunch of Minotaurs in anticipation that army would be pretty good. Unfortunately, I think in 1.5, the changes to monstrous infantry, it probably wasn't very good before 1.5, but really it's going to be hard work now. But regardless, it has a lot of the things that I like. Herdstone and Core in the middle. I was able to take a unit of six Minotaurs here. I did run a Gorble. I would have loved to have had a differentiated model, but I've got, let's say, the one in the middle is my Gorble with full plate Chaos Armor and Gnarled Hide and Diabolic Splendor, so -1 to shoot. And then I had the Banner of Outrage on my champion, on my battles, on my standard bearer. So six Minotaurs. I didn't take anything. I just take three shields, so they all get the 5+ save via Motley Crew. I think, and this game sort of proved that foe render is better than other things that you can add, particularly with Strength 5. I had two Razor Gores, I had 19 Ungor, and a level 1 Shaman. The level 1 Shaman had Jagged Dagger. Underneath that, I had a Doom Bull with level 2 Lore Familiar, and that was to take Dark Magic so I could get Battle Lust to give my units Frenzy and Hatred if it went off, and Word of Pain. So I was taking with the level 1 the Summoning Demonology. With the Herdstone, generally it's +2 to cast, so you're rolling 7 to get it off, and if you sacrifice a guy with Jagged Dagger, you're just needing to roll 6. So I prefer that to Viletide in many matchups. Against Wood Elves, where the armor doesn't matter so much, the summoning is better, and I think it's a great dilemma to talk about for Beastmen because the level ones are pretty good, I think, for Beastmen. On top of the Doombull, so the Doombull also had full plate Chaos Armor, Gnarled Hide. I gave him Enchanting Aura, so everything strikes last in base contact. And I also had the Brass Cleavers or Brass Cleaver, the thing that when you roll a 6, no one gets a save just for fun. I wanted to see how that went. Backing that Doombull up was a unit of Gauze. I think I had about 20 in the end, and with the Manbane standard. I also run the Giant and a Gorgon. They're a lot of fun. I love the Gorgon. I even after this game, I would continue to play it. It does well, spoiler alert, but maybe not as well as I would like. And the Giant is a hell of a lot of fun as well. So up against Paddy, Paddy was running Wood Elves. He had his level 4 on a Warhawk with the Oaken Stave. He has two units of Wild Riders. One of them has Standard Bearer and a Champion. The other one has nothing. He has a Stag Lord. The Stag Lord has Aspect of the Bear. Uh, I'd have to go Helm of the Hunt, I believe, and Befuddlement of Mischiefs. Very impressive. I think the Stag Lord is a lot of fun with its 360-degree charge arc. He had a Great Eagle. I think he had 14 Blade Guard, which was good to see the core getting a workout in this game. He ran, I think, about 20 Eternal Guard. The Battle Standard Bearer's in there too. I think the Battle Standard Bearer had Armor of Meteoric Iron, if I'm sure. Might have been Armor of Meteoric Iron. He also had seven Glade Riders running True Flight Arrows, I believe, the and quick shot and was avoiding negative -1s to shoot, which I thought was a good strategy, and we'll talk about as it goes through. I'm sorry, in this video, I'm not across exactly some of the things he had in, but I can sort of describe the effect that it had throughout the game. True Flight Arrows. So in terms of making up for poison, which Paddy used to have, the Glade Guard have Arcane Bodkins. And then there's War Dancers here. Has a Shadow Dancer in the unit. The Shadow Dancer has Orion's Charm, I believe it's called, that allows it to reroll hits and wound one attack, some sort of Orion's effect, Orion's token or something like that. To be clear too, the level 4 has the magic item that allows it to take the Law of the Woods, and Paddy rolled up the spell, some of the spells that he liked, the magic missile spell, and some of the other ones that will come up through the vortex, which was interesting, and we'll have a look at the game. So, looking at the board, we're playing King of the Hill. We started by thinking we would also have a special feature on top of the hill, but that became a bit complicated. So we just played King of the Hill with with this sort of setup. So I had to deploy first, and you can see I've Razor Gores on the wings. I have the Gore with well, it should be Ungor with the Shaman in that forest, so they can move through cover. The Gore and the Doomville to the left. I want to be able to sort of maximize my proximity to the Herdstone here. The Minotaurs and the Gorbel BSB are going to run straight ahead. Then the Gorgon Giant Razor Gore. I think I wish I'd put the Gorgon a little bit closer and to be shielded by a Razor Gore, but that's it. Paddy has Glade Riders on the extreme left, War Dancers in the forest, the Hawk Mage nearby, Eternal Guard in drilled, ready to march straight forward, Stag Lord and Eagle in front of the Wild Riders blocking that frenzy, and then his Glade Guard in the wood. So that War Dancer forest is his extra forest for playing Wood Elves. We didn't realize that the deployment for King of the Hill is a little bit more shortened, so you should only be 20 inches apart, and the left and right flanks are cut off so that we couldn't deploy on these wings like this. I don't think it had a great effect on the game, but it was already a bloodbath, and being even closer would have made that even more so. So before we go on, I just want to thank 2 Plus supporters, Pandem Wargaming, Ghost, Silver Dave, Kitro. We've got to come up with a better pronunciation. Please hit us up, Kitro, and tell us how this works. Sick, Gomo, how anyone else who would love to support the channel, really helps. We're seeing a big upswing at the moment, and it's meant that we've been able to put out more videos and make more content that people would like to see. Whatever you put in the comments or at our Discord really helps us. You can always thank us if you find particular battle reports or tactics worthwhile using the super thanks button below. So, thank you, guys. We go to turn one. Paddy won turn one, and he just sends everyone onto the hills. The Eternal Guard make it to the middle or their closest and start getting the 100 points straight away. He gets his Forehawk alongside the hill here and brings his Eagle forward and his Stag Rider so that they're in charge range next turn. The Eagle is within charge range of the Gorgon at its extremity for its frenzy, and there are Wild Riders behind it. You can see, I think the War Dancers have moved forward a little bit, but that's it. To the right, what ends up happening is that Forehawk isn't able to get off the magic missile, the one that does multiple wounds. I'd have to remember the name. Fury of Athaloran, maybe, which is very dangerous. I was very worried it can sort of tear through these Minotaurs pretty easily. However, he does get off the Vortex on an irresistible force. And this was really interesting to me throughout. We've talked about in the last video that Vortexes are pretty good in this format now, at least in the sense that they stick around and do things. And this Vortex did things. Paddy rolled quite high throughout the game on it, and it didn't always do a lot of wounds, but just kept chipping away and getting in the way a lot throughout of the turns. So first turn takes 100 points. At the start of my turn, he gets another 100. So you can see he also was shooting at the Razor Gores on the wings, one of them taking a wound. On my turn, I full send. I move my Ungors slightly to be able to get into range to threaten with the Razor Gore sort of coming forward and being able to maintain a charge arc to the left side for the Glade Riders and to the right for the Wild Riders if I need to. So I was pretty happy with that. That's sort of the ideal angle for the Razor Gore. Ideally, charges and charge responses matter a lot with Razor Gore. If it gets there or not, it doesn't really make it. It's the threat of getting there. And I have got there plenty of times, rolling large amounts of sixes, unfortunately for my opponents. So yeah, the Beastman Shaman just comes forward predominantly to threaten with the summoning. The Ungor are there really as a bodyguard. The Gore have stretched forward at full tilt. The Minotaurs are only able to get within an inch because they can't charge that first turn. They're 13 inches away. And the Gorgon has to charge. Paddy flees with his Eagle. My Giant and Razor Gore march up as much as possible. So the Razor Gore is doing the same thing on the side where it's threatening the Wild Riders to sort of take them away or to go to the Glade Guard who are in the forest. So, if you love the 2D maps like I do, you can see in great detail how this works. Probably it needs a little bit of explanation that the Glade Riders move forward with reserve move and then move back out of range at this stage or on Paddy's turn it was out of range. So they take some shots at the Razor Gore and move back out of range. So that's when I've moved up. And next turn he'll have to move away to keep them safe. But you can see the various, the eagle moving away. That's a bit of an approximation, but it's swinging back towards the Glade Guard with the charge arc. And the other Wild Rider units, how they've sort of fanned out behind the main line of the Wood Elves. So the action starts on the next turn. Paddy is successful. He brings down the Razor Gore on the right with his Glade Guard. Some of them died to move through cover, but he's able to shoot it and take it out, which is very helpful. It's going to keep these guys safe for most of the game. The Vortex continues to threaten, so this is a good shot here where we roll a 1 on the scatter, and we believe as it goes in and then has to come out the shortest possible distance, it pops right back out again. So only kill one guy, but then land it back out. And if I want to charge next turn here, I'm going to have to swing through the vortex again, and it's difficult terrain. But Paddy decides to send in to combat the Eternal Guard. He charges using drill to fan out a little bit with the Stag Rider and the Eternal Guard. So his Wild Riders have to come in too, and they choose to go into the Giant at this stage. So instead of the Razor Gore, which successfully he shoots, as I said before, the Stag Rider is great, kills 2 Minotaurs in the side. The Gore Bull BSB is challenged and eviscerates the champion. In here, you can see the giant does enough stomps to kill. I think he might kill 1 Wild Rider and then kill 3 from stomps, but leaves 1 alive, unfortunately. And that eagle is there just to show that the marker it's going to flee backwards. So where that leaves us is Paddy's Eternal Guard actually and Stag Rider actually break my Minotaurs, sending them backwards, and the Stag Rider chases and collects them, which was devastating to me on the second turn. But the Eternal Guard then reform to face the left because they sense that the Doombull's unit is going to charge next turn, which is what I'm going to do. So my turn, I set up the Razor Gore to charge bait the Wild Riders. Give me 2 shots here. I'm going to try to summoning them, of course, and shoot them even. But if that doesn't work, they're going to have to charge the Razor Gore. And if you've seen my video from a couple of weeks ago on closing the door, that's going to send the Wild Riders towards out of the arc of the Ungors on an overrun, or they're going to reform. So a pretty, I would say, not advanced tactic, but one of the fundamentals of playing good Warhammer is understanding facing of close order and open order units. In the right, what happens is I didn't follow up with that giant, which is an interesting decision in itself. Sorry, I should have said last turn the eagle hadn't fled yet. The eagle had gone back in after rallying. And I had a decision here where I think I made a mistake. So you can see the Stag Rider has ended up here, has a 360-inch charge. So you've got a 360 line of sight charge. So you've got to remember that. And I have all 3 of these units could charge the Eternal Guard. I just I didn't remember that Paddy was probably going to flee with that eagle again. And knowing that on a 9, I could redirect into the Eternal Guard. I think that 2 units would have been more than enough, and then I could have maybe followed up or could have continued this combat into the Wild Rider and killed that unit. So what I end up doing is charging everyone into the Eternal Guard because I want to be King of the Hill, of course, and they destroy the Eternal Guard to 1. So there's this Standard Bearer left. The Standard Bearer flees. The Gorgon has to pursue, and even though it only rolls 1 dice for Blood Greed, I am able to catch it. There's some interesting things here if you can put in the comments if you know. So that photo on the bottom left is after the models are taken away. Do the giant and the Gorgon close in? When do they close in? And how does that then affect pursuit? So that's where the giant and the Gorgon start combat. Are they obliged to move into base contact with the battle standard or the standard bearer? When does that happen? Because when that battle standard bearer ran away, obviously I'm losing about 2 inches of pursuit here. Fortunately, the Gorgon's base is pretty big anyway. We did move it in. The battle standard bearer didn't pursue very far, and I think I rolled a 5 or something and got it. So that was great. But I then reform with both the giant and the gore unit on top of the hill. So, a bloodbath on turns 2 and 3. I lose the hill and then I get it back. Well, the hill is defended and then we get it back. So, what you can see, some of the action that wasn't really talked about is Paddy's Glade Riders move around the back, War Dancers move closer. You can see that first slide with the Wild Riders and the Razor Gores. I've moved the Gore, Ungor, and Shaman back into the forest for safety because I only need 18-inch range. I don't need to be any closer. And you can see that mess on the hill where I've sort of pushed through. However, Paddy's Wild Riders have gotten away, the Eagles gotten away again, and the Glade Guard is safe over here. And you can see the dead units so far on the right. So next turn, Paddy reorganized. I had moved the Ungor and Shaman out of the 18-inch charge range of the stag. He repositions on the left to hit the Doombul. I am the Wild Riders have to charge the Razor Gore. My summoning didn't resolve. Maybe it was dispelled by Oaken Stave. Can't remember. Didn't shoot anything either. And those combats were pretty much well, this combat, the Razor Gore gets killed in there. What happens on my turn is I fan out into a line so I can maximize my shots on the Wild Riders. I killed none again with the Ungor. I think it was like 6s and 4s to hit or something. But the Shaman rolling, needing a 6 to get off the summoning, miscast first. But then I think I roll a 10 or something. So it goes off. I'm out of range of Oaken Stave and I do enough to kill the unit. So they're dead. Uh, in the middle, it's then my turn. I turn to face the Stag Lord and the War Dancers, and I get as close as possible. So at least it's going to be difficult for them to take or get me off the hill without coming through me in combat. I guess I'm inviting the combat. The Giant also has a choice. I couldn't charge the Wild Rider, so I move it so that the Wild Rider cannot charge me in the rear, and I've repositioned the Gorgon to be able to charge. Hopefully, these guys survive in this round of combat. So there's another after next turn. So interestingly, first turn, a lot of moving forward. Second turn, a lot of death. On the third turn, really just mostly repositioning apart from those Wild Riders dying who are now in the graveyard on the side of the board with the other Razor God too. So we get to the next turn, and interestingly, a poor giant who had taken a wound already just gets hit by archery left, right, and center, but also this magic missile, which is great. This multi-wound strength 6, I believe it is missile, D3 plus 1. So I think it took 3 strength 6 hits. I think 1 punched through. I hadn't taken any additional protection, and it took 2 wounds and went to 4 wounds from there. And then took another 2 wounds from shooting and died, the giant, sadly. It was a lot of fun. It barely flopped. It did 6 stomps. It killed a whole bunch of Eternal Guard. I am a fan of, I think it's one of the funnest things you can do playing a giant in Warhammer. In the middle, the War Dancers come in. He flips the one-time Orion's token or whatever we're calling it bit through and the Shadow Dancer. Sadly, because War Dancers always strike first, my Enchanting Aura didn't have the effect I wanted it to. And with their high initiative, they get to go first. The Wild Shadow Dancer does a number of attacks on the Doom, 5 attacks on the Doombul, and I think even with rerolls to hit, rerolls to wound, I think Paddy got through like 1. I was able to save them or whatever they were, but no killing blow on the Doombul. The Stag Rider got in 2, they did a lot of damage, but I was able to fall back in good order. And when I fell back in good order, I can't remember what I rolled, but extraordinarily, Paddy was not able to catch me. I think I might have rolled a 7 or an 8 or something. And the War Dancers didn't get me, and the Stag Rider, even with its Swift Stride, didn't get me either. So what ends up happening is we're now in this very advantageous position for me. So you can see the Glade Riders lurking in the background after the death of the Giant, but I'm sitting here after falling back, not Paddy not able to catch me, ready to go again. So I think that was the initial distance there. Maybe I've got these photos a little bit out of whack. So next turn I charge back in. And the Gorgon goes first with my 7 attacks near the Herdstone. Primal Fury up. I think I hit with 4, and then I roll 6, and he can't save it. I can't remember if he has a ward up or not, but he gets Killing Blowed, which is fantastic. And his general's dead. And at this point, I'm thinking, oh my God, I might pull this off. I reform, sorry, I overrun and that's going to happen in a minute. But we do. The War Dancer still strikes first. This time he gets through 3 attacks, rolls 2 6s. I did save one with the ward save on full plate Chaos Armor, but it didn't save the other one. And the Doombull also died to Killing Blow. So it was very eventful turn, a lot of fun. The rest of the Gore just get mown down. After that, they break, and the War Dancers catch them or take the standard. I can't remember. Maybe they killed all of them and overran. But the Gorgon is going to head back to the center and redirect. And you could argue that the damage is mostly done. But fascinatingly, even though this is the end of the turn, and at this point, I think Paddy had taken the hill for the first 3 turns. And I think I'd had it for maybe 3 after that. So it was pretty even, or maybe I'd had it for, yeah, 3 after that. And I was below unit strength 10 anyway, after you could see in in that model, the last photo that I was below unit strength 10. And this created an interesting scenario for those looking to get better at 1.5. So my Gorgon was able to run loose, but the Glade Riders, who are core and unit strength 14, were able to get within 9 on that first shot and start getting the 100 points and then move around, especially with reserve move, into a really advantageous position to stay out of the arc of the Gorgon, stay out of really line of sight of the Gauls and the summoning, even though this Oaken Stave was up. And they were just able to continually score on this hill. So you can see the Wild Riders sort of running away. The Glade Riders are over here, but these are the last few turns. I'm able to. Paddy charge baits me again. The Great Eagle had rallied again, marched back in 20, and then I had been able to. I had to charge it, so I wasn't able to charge anything else. Anyway, Paddy got a number of shots, the magic missile off, but the Gorgon survives on 1 wound. And then the Gauls Ungors and the Shaman decide, well, we're not going to do anything stupid. We're just going to stay over here and try to keep us safe and conserve points. So that was the end of the game. And that's what happened. At the end of the game, this Glade Rider unit was able to sweep in at the end and so keep scoring points. And it felt jarring initially, but I'd managed to maintain sort of one of my core units. I could have maybe come in if I wanted to and threatened. I mean, obviously they would have been dealt a lot of damage, but it bodes interestingly for those who want to think about how this format works, that you do ram forward with your core, first wave of core, but it might be the secondary core that's able to score objectives. So that Glade Rider unit doing that was interesting to me, and at the time I thought it was okay, this might be how 1.5 works. So in the wash up, I had a lot of fun. It is a great game. You can't complain when both generals are done in by killing blows. And we've been talking about wanting more combat for a long time. I think this is really an aggressive format now where you have to move. Uh, I don't know what I would do to improve Minotaur Bloodherd. I don't think there's a lot you can do. That you're really crippled by 3 Minotaurs being unit strength 9. Even if you get to unit strength 12 with 4, it's going to cost you. They're not very well armored. They die very easily. They were quite impressive in killing a lot of Eternal Guard, but they took a lot of wounds as well. Just toughness for 5 up saves. I do like Primal Fury. In the game, the rerolls for the Gorgon, the Doombull, and the uh, Minotaurs were incredible next to the Herdstone. So being able to reroll ones to hit and ones to wound, extraordinarily extraordinary consistency in the rolls, and I did kill a lot of models, do a lot of wounds, including the general. Um, it's very difficult in Bloodherd to, I think Minotaurs are probably even overcosted, Gorgon's overcosted, so you sort of just can't fit a lot in, and it's probably going to be difficult to make work. I did think the Gorble BSB was great, and sadly, like I probably needed to, if I was going to make a unit that big, maybe it's one of those Death Star type units where you have the BSB, the wizard, you go for a ward save through Oak and Shield or something like that, like the ogre versions. You take stubborn and you just make sure the thing doesn't die and try to win on your strength. They do cause fear, so that's going to help you in some ways. So maybe that's the way I'd play it with just a Death Star, in a sense. But I think that's been done, and no one's looking to play that new format. You could have played it in the last one. Again, the Forehawk was untouchable. You do need ranged attacks. The Angor and the Shaman were at least able to threaten. Not a fan of Gaurs in this unit. I think even with hand weapon and shield, they die so much. And because you're sending everything forward, Beastmen have this war of attrition. You really need things like the Gore and the Shaman, Angor and Shaman to survive. Eagles, great again. And the Glade Guard, 14 Glade Guard, interesting. I think it's something with High Elves I'm looking at doing too. Your core archers, being able to stay back, be able to have some effect on the game. And if you're playing with secondary objectives, then come in and try to take that on the wings. So a lot of fun. I think if you haven't played 1.5 yet, I know you're probably itching to, and it is a shame I get to play a fair bit, but I do think it's good. The game as a whole, I feel plays a lot better. It's more combat oriented. Paddy Staglord, I think, is good. I think you can't just sit back with wizards. Maybe you can with one, and it can be defensive, but I don't think you can win on magic missiles alone anymore, and you're going to need some of your special characters to be able to kill things, or your characters to do that, especially if you're elves and you don't have units that are able to do it consistently. So thanks again for watching, guys. We'll see you next time. There'll be a raft of tactics videos related to this, and we'll go from there. Thanks. See you later.